Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us Team Mosso at the1916company.com. It is in the description below, your purchase pricing and availability email line for inquiring about this watch. Today we discuss something launched in 2019, and this was a famous first. From Ulysse Nardin, the Freak X, the first Freak ever equipped with a crown. This model in DLC titanium, 43 millimeters in diameter, and very light, being almost entirely titanium and sapphire. In terms of how it wears, it's thinner than you'd expect at 13.7 millimeters, and then 49.1 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip, with a 21 millimeter spacing between the lugs. So it sits light on the wrist. It's smaller than a conventional Freak and thinner too, which is why I can recommend it for a wrist of 15 centimeters circumference or larger. My wrist is 16 centimeters in circumference. The top angle over the top always exaggerates the width of the watch, so if you're undecided and you're on the fence, this is the angle that's definitive. And because it does have quite a few steps to its case flank, it's more cuff compatible than you might think. The strap's a fascinating piece. Many straps include rubber on the underside and leather on the top. This one inverts that principle, as we have rubber on the top for abrasion resistance, and then we have calfskin leather on the bottom. You can see it is a UN factory strap in excellent condition. It features two different perforation patterns, one for the pin of the buckle, and then one to give it a sporty, vented aesthetic from the top. We have a little bit of a contrasting binding stitch. We have a clasp right here made of blackened titanium, double fold, ceramic pin snap, so over time, the titanium cannot wear down the ceramic pin snap, so that will remain snappy with tight tolerances. And you can see we have a twin trigger release system that's built into the swing arm of that side of the clasp. So a lot of security. You have to press both triggers for this to actually open up. Taking a look at the case, simple, almost a little bit more organic than a conventional Freak. We have integrated lugs that come to a tapered point. There's a little bit of faceting at the end. There's a bevel that runs from end to end. We have a name plate, or I should say a numbering plate on the side, like the old Ulysse Nardin marine chronometers of the 19th and early 20th century. The flanking plate held on by fired screws, or blackened screws in this case, a signature of those old deck clocks, and this continues in that tradition. The now crown-clad Freak has a crown that reminds you of that nautical tradition. You can see the little anchor right in there. Note the use of both media blast and polish. Attention to detail is strong with this one. You can also see it on the bezel, which has a surface facet that's satinated and then an outer face that is polished, a very subtle type of contrast. There's a little bit of a dip or bevel at 12 o'clock as well as at 6 o'clock, and then we have a dramatically boxed and cambered sapphire designed to clear the carousel assembly, a baguette movement that acts as the oscillator, the bridge for the balance, and also the minute hand. We'll do a loom shot here because I think you'll be surprised by just how much loom there is on this Freak X. Easy to read. You can see the hours, you can see the minutes, and in some ways it's easier to explain how you tell time with this watch when the lights are out. You can see the hour hand is the broad one inboard, and the minute hand is the more pointed one that extends outboard. Easy to read, and unlike a lot of traditional Freaks, this one's not only tremendously luminescent, it's actually 50 meters water resistant. Most Freaks traditionally 0. Since 2013, the bezel setting Freaks have been about 30. This is 50 and a step above. We have Ulysse Nardin caliber UN 230. You always know that because the beginning of the UN modern day reference number is the caliber in there. So you can see caliber 230 uses a pawl-based magic lever style bidirectional winding system. We've got hybrid ceramic bearings with ceramic balls and steel races, 3-day power reserve, 3 hertz beat rate, all this pivoting on 21 joules. Ulysse Nardin certified. That is a test of the fully cased up watch. It includes power reserve, it includes durability, it includes water resistance, and it also includes a timing standard. The watch has to run no worse than plus 10 seconds per day with no time loss permitted, so 0 seconds lost. So that is the tolerance for this UN certified signature that you see on a lot of their watches. It's all grayscale and blacked out, as we have a combination of black, silver, and gray. You can see that even the screws at center have been blackened over the bearing, and attention to detail is strong. You can see that the bearing features satin brushed finish around its edge, and then media blast inboard with satination circumferential on the bridges edges with Media Blast on the base plate here. A really cool watch, and on the dial side, what's sometimes described as a carousel, sometimes described as a carousel tourbillon. What this is a system where you have one drivetrain that moves the carriage itself. So you've got that minute hand that makes a circuit of the dial every hour. Then you've got another drivetrain that provides energy to the escapement. And because you've got the two separate trains, this carousel concept, designed by Dane Bonnickson in the 1890s while working in England, it was a more durable version of the rotating carriage with the escapement and the balance. So same principle as the Breguet tourbillon, move the carriage around to alternate the escapement and balance's exposure to gravitational forces, but it's just more durable than the tourbillon system. You can also see a free-sprung balance with all the adjustment done using these little star-shaped variable inertia screws. And so it is very robust and shock-resistant type system that can be set very precisely. The balance itself is made of silicon and white gold, and all the silicon, the escapement, the hairspring, and the balance, made in-house by Ulysse Nardin through its subsidiary Sigatech. And UN's probably the smallest company in Swiss watchmaking that can actually make this technology itself. Everyone else has to buy or license it. So it is phenomenally resistant to temperature-induced timing deviations. It is absolutely resistant to magnetism, and in particular with the diamond-coated silicon escapement, you don't need any real lubrication, so it runs better in between services. It's a very, very light on lubrication in that regard, alleviating one of the elements that typically causes a watch to really start slowing down as it approaches its service interval. So that is anti-magnetic, low oscillating weight, and lubricant light or lubricant free for escapement, hairspring, and balance, all of them made in-house. If you love this watch, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.